Hi, it's Michael Hyatt at michaelhyatt.com. I'm here with Jane Friedman, who's professor of media at Cincinnati or University of Cincinnati. She's also a contributing editor for Writer's Digest and the former publisher at Writer's Digest. She also has a terrific blog which you must read if you're in the publishing world or an aspiring author, and that's at writersdigest.com also. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Good to have you. You know, there's so much that's changing in the world of publishing, in the world of books. Do you see the demand, this is a broad question, but do you see the demand for books going up or down in the future?
Are you talking about print, electronic, or does it matter?
I think just what we would call a long format, text-driven book.
Okay.
In whatever format. Could be electronic, could be print, whatever.
Okay. My feeling is that when it comes to stories, and especially anything in fiction, that the demand will stay about the same. I think the real pressure point is for anyone writing informational-based nonfiction. So, for instance, you know, maybe 10 years ago, if you wanted the best information on gardening, you might have went to the bookstore or to Amazon and bought a book. But I think today the first thing you do is you go to Google and type in the question, the immediate need that you have. And you look for maybe an online community or an expert or a video or a discussion group. And I don't think you necessarily go to a book as the first way to solve your information needs. So anyone who's involved in delivering information, and that could range from like self-help to history to travel, I think that's where the demand for what we would consider a long-form traditional book, I think that demand will diminish.
Okay, fair enough. How important is an author's platform today to their success in the publishing world?
I think the key issue for any author as well as any publisher is discoverability. And when I think about platform, I think about having really good discoverability and really good visibility. So, I mean, often when we're in this online environment or watching or reading things online, we automatically think of online platform and things that contribute to our online presence, but a really strong platform to me is a combination of both online and offline. And if you don't have visibility, then it's almost as if you don't exist, because there's so much stuff out there. If people can't find you, especially if they can't find you through Google or they can't find you through their preferred distributor or retailer, the game is kind of over for you if your competitors are doing a better job. So I think that's where platform is so important.
So I guess for both of those, like the most important thing is you've got to have some kind of online presence. I mean, I definitely appreciate what you're saying about offline, but in today's world of Google, you've got to be discoverable online.
Right, exactly, because that's often the first place people turn.
Do you think, given all the pressure on traditional publishers right now, is there still a role for traditional publishers going forward?
I think there is. A lot of authors and writers I speak to are still looking for a partner and someone who can help guide them, especially in the earlier stages of their career where they may just not totally understand how to best package themselves or their book or their story. And so I think so far, traditional publishers still can do that. They still know how to market and package a book very, very well in a way that makes a difference to sales. And they also provide some kind of quality control or that editorial process that helps ensure a better product at the end. But the problem is that as traditional publishers cut back and do things that affect the quality control process, they don't offer as much of an advantage or benefit to authors. So
it's almost like the one thing they can't afford to pull back on because it's the only differentiator in a world where it's so easy to get access to publishing.
Exactly. So I think every publisher, every traditional publisher who survives, they're probably going to approach what their value proposition is in a different way. Maybe some it'll be really excellent access to a specialized community. Like I think the company I just came from was really great at digging into specialized communities, really great marketing reach. Others, it might be a quality control process, but I think it's going to be different for each publisher in the end.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Let's turn to writing for a minute. You write a blog. You've had a lot of experience with writers. What do you think are some of the best practices or the best habits of the really successful writers? What do they do differently?
I think consistency is probably at the top of the list. Even if you're not blogging every day or even every week, people should know when you're going to appear, and it should be a fairly consistent kind of presence or message or personality so that if people don't ever know what to expect from you, you're probably going to lose them. So
it's
both
almost like an implicit contract.
Exactly. Yeah. So consistency both in the frequency and in the content or the subject matter. Some people can get away with neither of those, but I tend to think they're somehow famous in the so-called real world, and so they get more permission to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I think that's right, and it seems like it doesn't have to be every day. I mean, that's tough to kind of keep that schedule. But like you said, even if it's once a week, it needs to be predictable.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, consistency is at the top, and past that, I think it's about patience. Because most people will give up too soon because they don't see anything happening. So I think you have to have some faith that people are paying attention or that what you're doing is having an impact. And then also you're going to get better, because I wasn't a very good blogger probably for the first year.
Yeah, me too.
So you learn, you grow, and you have to allow that process to happen.
What was the inflection point for you? I mean, did you blog a long time in sort of relative obscurity and then all of a sudden it hit?
I would say it was a very slow and steady growth, but I was pretty obscure for about the first 12 months. And then I just started to realize what kind of content people really responded to and what area I really had something unique to say, where I could like kind of define my niche. And I think that's really important for people who are starting out. They need to know that you may not find your voice right away. It may take you 6 or 9 months to figure out what that is, and that's all right.
Yeah, that was definitely the case with me. But I think you're right. I think if people would just be patient, most bloggers give up too soon, and it's not an easy road to riches. It's it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of persistence. It's finding your voice. But I think that the one advantage it seems that we have as bloggers over just book authors is we can get that input. So we can find out what our readers are responding to.
Absolutely.
We can begin to adjust. I mean, when you just do a book, it goes out there and either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you got to wait till the next time you're up at bat.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so consistency, that's an important thing. Finding your voice is important. Persistence, those are all great things. What are some things that you see writers sometimes do? And I guess we kind of touched on this in the last question, but what do they do to sabotage their writing or sabotage their careers?
I think especially for those authors who have been told you've got to build a platform or you have to blog or you have to do X, I think sometimes they approach those more marketing-based activities as something where they have to switch gears and then use their marketing or sales voice or personality. And I think sometimes they miss the point that, no, actually you're just yourself, and you do things that match your strengths, that match the audience for your work. You're not turning into a marketer or a salesperson necessarily. You're just producing more good, valuable content and experiences for people. And I think sometimes people they'll put on some sort of different hat or persona. I'm going to be a marketer now, and that can be a big turnoff. And so sometimes I'll see people who are blogging because they've been told to, and it'll be very salesy, like they're really trying to sell.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work. So that's a mistake that happens across a lot of different social media channels.
Yeah, I see that too. And I see sometimes people pulling into social media kind of traditional, almost a direct marketing mentality. And some of that works, but when it starts to feel like spam,
Yeah.
I just think it takes more work than that, more authenticity, transparency, all that stuff that gets talked about.
Absolutely.
Well, are there any parting words of wisdom that you have for writers?
Let's see. I think what I hear usually on a day-to-day basis is people a little bit anxious or frustrated with the amount of change that's happening in the industry and with the whole digitization that's kind of sweeping us along, and no one's really quite sure what's next. And people are always looking for the answer, like or some kind of almost magic bullet to kind of save them amidst the change. And of course, there isn't one. And I think if people could be more accepting that we're all kind of in this very exciting but often confusing time, and that there's a lot of experimentation that has to happen, to not get so set on trying not to make a mistake or screwing things up, because I'm not really sure it's possible to do that. You would have to have really malicious intent, I think, to make a mistake. So I try to encourage people not to get themselves worked up or all angst-ridden over the new tools and technologies, to use more intuition and take a more easy, fun approach to it rather than being so serious all the time.
That's great advice. I think this is a time to be experimental and to embrace the change, because I think the people that do that, unlike our friends perhaps at Borders, are going to survive. But the people that resist it and kind of want to hold back and wait till they get it figured out, I mean, by the time you get it figured out, it's a totally new game. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Jane, thank you very much for taking these few minutes to join us. And if you want to find Jane online, go to writersdigest.com. You'll find a link there to her blog, and I would just encourage you to subscribe to it because it's fantastic content if you're an author or a publisher or in the business, as we say. So, Jane, thank you.
Thank you very much.